Hello, hello, Facebook friends and family. How are you? Tonight we have a special guest with us. Let's see if she's coming now. Hey, Helen, can you see me? Let me invite her again. She's been invited. Hopefully she'll be here soon. I found Helen very interesting. Hi Hui, good evening. Hi Sylvia, thanks for watching. We have a special guest tonight. It's Helen. Hi Helen, bring them on camera. Yes. Helen is coming on board in a while. Thank you for joining us tonight for this interview with Helen. Hello.
Hello.
Hey Helen,
Hi.
how are you? Hey Sylvia.
I'm good, thank you, Maylin.
Good.
I'm just going to turn the volume up though, that's better.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? Is the sound okay?
I can.
Cool.
How about you?
Good, I can see you clear. Oh, I like your blouse. That red suits you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, tonight.
How's it going?
Good. It's been a very good week. Last week, busy but good. And how about you?
Yeah, really exciting. This is about my third video or something today. I tend to batch my videoing, and it's just worked out really well that you suggested that we talk tonight. So I thought, awesome, I can do them all in one day. And I actually find I get almost on a bit of a high when I do them. I love it so much. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on board. Yeah, we can't wait to hear your sharing, Helen. I find you are very interesting. You are doing productivity coach, something to do with achieving and business. And at the same time, you are also an intuitive healer. So can you tell me a little bit of your stories? How do you start doing what you are doing? And what is that about?
Yeah, it probably seems a bit strange to a lot of people. Well, perhaps if I could just talk briefly about,
Yes.
I started off in nursing in the health sector in my career many years ago, and then went to work in the corporate part of health services. And productivity was pretty much my focus for a lot of it. But that was, of course, what I call very left-brained around evidence-based guidelines and continuous quality improvement projects and that sort of thing, which were great. I really felt that I certainly developed my productivity skills in lots of ways.
Right.
But what I found was that over time, it was starting to become really dry, and I was starting to lose meaning with it. And I started to realize how much I actually wanted to bring in what I call now my right brain talents and skills. And that is, particularly for me, is around my creativity, around my spirituality, and also the emotional side of things. And for me, in my experience, that's not what I was finding in the career that I had in the corporate sector.
Right.
And this voice within me just got stronger and stronger. And I realized that I couldn't stay working in that environment. So I decided that I was really interested in coaching and did a coaching course, which was amazing, and that I would focus on productivity. And I got a little bit scared, and I started off thinking, oh, I'm just going to do, traditional sort of productivity, time management, and how to prioritize, and that the way that a lot of people are familiar with.
Yeah.
And again, I found this voice came back to me because I found it just wasn't resonating enough for me. And again, as I said, this voice came back, and I realized, hey, I'm left brain, but I'm also right brain. And I really, really will feel so much more so much more effective, but also have this deeper meaning if I can bring those elements into the way that I run my business personally, but also that I can use with clients. So I realized that this best suited particularly creative and spiritual, well, I focus on women in business, obviously can be men as well, but in terms of my marketing, who for them, like I found, was the case for me after a lot of years, it wasn't enough just to do it in a traditional way, that we can bring in a lot of visual things, a lot of, whether it's drawing or meditating, we can be doing, and a whole lot of other aspects that often, you know, that do have a spiritual base, and just make it so much more interesting. And it worked better for those people that, as I said, the traditional way of doing productivity, the typical to-do list that would, you know, be so either so boring or just so overwhelming for a lot of people. So that's where I am now, and that's a bit about, my journey.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it looks like you have the best of both worlds, like in terms of productivity, the left brain, and creativity. So when you're talking about your creativity and intuition calling, are you referring to a particular skill of yours, like drawing or music or something like that?
For me, I certainly wouldn't consider myself a professional artist, but for me, it doesn't matter about the quality, it's the process. Yeah. So I love doing drawing with things like mind mapping. I'm really, I realize how visual I am. So being able to plan something, I use mind mapping for that. I also there's actually a lot of value, believe it or not, in doodling, which, you know, you think, oh, well, that's just a waste of time. A lot of people do, but it's a great way for us to be opening up our creativity and therefore our intuition and inspiration. And so sometimes if I'm not sure about something, if I'm mulling over something, I'll actually just freeform draw. It doesn't have to be beautiful pictures. That's not the point. And it's amazing how, as I said, it opens up sort of these channels for new ideas. So I use that in different ways. And then also with music, it can be, you know, I love, you know, when I'm meditating, to be listening to beautiful music, when I'm walking, which to me is a meditative practice, unless I'm with friends, and, you know, when I'm talking about when I'm on my own. And I can have it during the day at times when I'm wanting a break. I can't have music when I'm working. A lot of people can. I find I'm thinking about the music more than I'm thinking about the work, particularly if it's got lyrics. Yeah. But I find as a break between doing different things, as a transition, what I call a transition from one thing that I've been focusing on before I move on to another thing, having some music that just changes your, in NLP talk, your state, you know, and makes that crossover to the next thing a lot more enjoyable and just fun.
Right. Fun is very important for creativity, right? Yeah. So when you're talking about women in business, so do you help women, those who are creative with artworks or producing art pieces in any form, into becoming productive in business as well? Or you are bringing the traditional business, conventional business owners, women in business, and to transform them into more spirituality, becoming more creative with their business? How do you bridge them? Like, which part do you work most? Is it the artist kind of business women, or the conventional kind of business women, to bring them spirituality so that it's becoming more fun and more joyful with their business?
I've actually focused more on what you said with regards to the artists, inverted commas. Right. It doesn't have to be, you know, they don't have to be formal artists. What I mean by that is it can be, quite often, it's coaches, healers, it
Yes.
can be artists, and that could be graphic designers, it can
Yes.
be interior designers. You know, it's such a broad term. But those women in business, as I referred to, that I consider right brain, and so they have a different working style, you know, most of them or a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I help, so they already may well be spiritual and are creative. But where they can find it to be a challenge is actually having some structure that they get things done, but not feeling too hemmed in and feeling that they don't have enough freedom within that. So they are the ones that I tend to work with the most. Having said that, I could just as easily work with somebody who wants to bring in their creativity and their spirituality more into the way that they, inverted commas, do productivity. I could definitely do that, but I tend to focus on, as I said, the women who are the more artistic, the ones who have lots of great ideas, and they want to start everything and don't necessarily find it that easy to finish things off. And that, of course, can really impact their negativity and their businesses as a result.
Right, right. So, do you guide them into spirituality through meditation or through your workshops or coaching sessions? How do you guide them in the process?
Yeah, I work with, what I love doing is working with what comes naturally to them, because then they're gonna be able to do it more easily, and it's going to align with them better energetically. So they're gonna actually accept it more readily. And that's part of the problem with most traditional, or a lot of traditional productivity advice, is that it doesn't align with these women that I'm talking about. So I certainly encourage things like meditation. A lot of them are doing those sorts of things. They may well be artistic and that, as I said, but I help them to, instead of feeling that they have to write a to-do list or write a whole lot of text, they can use, if they want, they can use their drawing to do that. You know, I mentioned mind mapping, but it could be like a storyboard when they're working out something, you know, in terms of a project, breaking down the steps with that. And utilizing, as I said, what they're familiar with, being able to, you know, just using one small example, when I know I had a client who's really loves singing bowls, and she was finding it hard to, in fact, it was similar to what I was saying before, moving on from what I call focus sessions, where you have maybe an hour and a half, really focus, and of course the thing is one thing at a time, to then finish that and being able to mentally and energetically then move on to the next thing. And she was finding that she was taking with her still the thoughts of what she was working on before. Oh, hello, Jenny, how are you?
Hi, Jenny.
And so she felt then she couldn't get into the energetic and brain space of the next thing that she was working on. So what she actually came up with when we were working together as you know, me holding the space for her to be able to do this, was to actually use her singing bowls for a few minutes, which has the gorgeous, gorgeous sound. And to her, that was a great way of being able to switch from one thing she was doing to the next in a really beautiful way that worked for her. So it's working with, you know, I'm a big believer of people working to their strengths, and she came up with that, and I thought, oh wow, that's a great way to do it. So that's just one small example.
So do you mean, I come across quite many artists. I think the problem is the lack of marketing skill. Is that what you mean? Is lack of making it into a course or materialize it to reach out to the public? Is that what you mean? Oftentimes with artists.
Sorry, what was the last bit? I cut you off.
So oftentimes with artists, their problem is they do not know how to market themselves as well.
I think, look, I mean, I'm no marketer professionally. It's not my zone of genius per se, so I don't give marketing advice as such. But I think how I would respond to what you're saying is, to me, it's about, or the way that I'm understanding what you're saying is it's about actually getting ourselves out there and promoting ourselves and our services. And yes, in terms of that, I understand what you're saying. It's been the case for me.
Challenge,
so I can relate to my own personal story. And so what I do is work with women around confidence and around setting boundaries, and also what I'm reminded of when I talk about that is around flow. And when they can get clarity about what it is that they're doing, and I'm not a business coach per se, as I said, I specialize in productivity, but helping them to get clear about what their to-dos are and getting them into the flow. And that can be using spiritual practices, meditation beforehand, visualizing, whatever, as I've said before, whatever works for them, so that they can feel more comfortable. And also, a lot of the time, it's overwhelm. They feel there's so much to do. Where do I begin?
So much to deliver.
Exactly. And I mean, we can relate to that, can't we? So it's a matter of breaking it down and just me being a sounding board for them, that I can help them to do that. And of course that's the coaching in particular coming out. Although I do use other modalities if I feel that it's appropriate. And of course, if the client's open to that, things like particularly EFT that I use, tapping, and I can use hypnotherapy and NLP as well.
Oh, you use EFT as well?
Oh, I love using EFT I love using it with things like overwhelm, with clutter, if clutter is an issue, if clutter's big enough of an issue for a lot of creatives, and I actually do class myself in this area as well, is we actually are okay with a little bit of clutter. I don't have the most pristine.
I lost your voice. I can't hear you. Hello. I think the line is being interrupted. However, let me see what we can do. Hey, Irene. Hey, thank you everyone for watching us tonight. Danny, Irene, Jenny, Joyce, and thank you for joining us. I think I lost Helen. Don't know what happened. Thank you for joining us. I think she's a wonderful woman that doing good things to bring artists into productivity in a very profound way. So I will get Jenny to share her link in the comment box. If you have any other questions for her, or you're interested to find out what she's doing, she's based in Melbourne. If you would like to contact her, please welcome. And I look forward to share with you another story. Hey, Helen. Let me see if I can bring you back again. Well, how do I do it? Let me try one more time if I can invite you back. Yes. No, there's no button for me to invite you, Helen, unfortunately. However, please welcome, Helen, please welcome to share your link, or where can our audience find you, what you're doing, and if they have any questions with you, so that they will be able to find you. So maybe just for tonight, we'll just pause here. Thank you all for watching and joining us. We look forward. I can't. Okay, let me try again. I know you're here. Bring Helen on camera. You're on now. Thank you for your patience, guys. Thank you. Helen will be here in a moment. He's coming in now. Maybe there's some the internet connection is not too good. the sign here is adding, but she's not here yet. Anyway. Hey Silver, hi, good evening. Thank you for joining us. How are you? Hope you all have a good week and a magnificent week. Helen, I can't seem to have you now. That's okay. I think you can hear me. Okay. The sign here says adding, but I can't put you on camera back. Yeah, maybe just we'll just end it here. Sorry guys, thank you for watching tonight and wishing you all a magnificent week. Have a joyful week. Thanks Silva, thanks for watching. And Helen will share your link in the comment box and our audience will be able to find you. Yes, okay. If you have any other additional point that you must share with our audience, please drop it in the comment box so that we can continue to hear your sharing. Thank you all. So just for this topic tonight, we end here. Thank you, Helen. Thank you for sharing your wonderful work with us, and looking forward to talk to you maybe another time. Good night. Good night all.